All right, so today we're going to look at the sponge, which we just took notes over. Notice that the sponge up here is in phylum Porifera, so I want to be sure and highlight that to know I can keep that in mind as I'm labeling this diagram. So we have the typical sponge. Now, not all sponges will look just like this, but they'll be similar. So we're going to look at a few different things here, and I'm going to label it, and then I'm going to color the diagram as we go here. So I want to start with the holes that are inside. So if we're going to draw the direction that the water is going to flow into the sponge, and from the video that maybe you just watched, it goes in holes on the side called ostia, and it goes into the body cavity and then out the top of the osculum. And that's going to be the water circulation. So it's going to come in these holes and kind of merge together and go out the top. So what I want to do first is label the hole that it comes in, which this is the same thing over here. This is called the ostia. And so I'm going to color the ostia light blue here so that you can see it, and I'll just do it quickly. So I'm going to make the ostia blue, so I'm going to put a little blue dot there. And so this is an ostia here, ostia over here, ostia down here. And really sponges, the ostia are going to be microscopic, so you're not going to be able to really see them this large, but I'm sure this diagram is enlarged just for simplification. So water comes into the ostia and comes out the top hole, which is called the osculum. So I'm going to make that on my diagram. I'm going to make that orange here. So I'm going to put a little dot of orange on it. And so really just the hole here at the top is called the osculum. And so on the video that you either have already watched or you're getting ready to watch, you'll see that the dye comes in the ostia with the water and goes out the osculum. So as the water comes in, it's going to bring with it nutrients. And so the next thing I want us to label are the collar cells, which is what B is pointing to, or the scientific term for those are choanocytes. So choanocytes are referred to as collar cells because if you look at them, they have a little collar. So remember that collar is going to help trap food as the water comes into the sponge. So all of these are collar cells, and on each collar cell we have a little tail or flagella, and the beating of those flagella all at once is going to draw water into the sponge, thus bringing with it nutrients and oxygen. So those are choanocytes. So same thing over here. I'm just not going to color those for time's sake. Okay. Then, so that's the layer lining the inside. Then we have the epidermis here on the outside. What I want to do before the epidermis is label the spicules. So down here, you can see the little triangle-shaped spicules. In this case, they're kind of sticking out the outside layer of the sponge. So when a sponge dies, this is the part that will basically break down by decomposition. So we're going to make those green so they can really stick out here. So you can see they're three shaped here. They have kind of a three tips on them. So the tips are kind of sticking out here also. So this is obviously if you use a sponge to wash with or wash your car with, you would hope that those spicules would have either disintegrated or decomposed or have been removed from that sponge. So what you're left with is just the spongin. So on the outside of the sponge we have the ectoderm. So this is the ectoderm. And I'm going to make that a lavender color. The ectoderm, or sometimes referred to as the epidermis, this is where the spicules are going to be hanging out, and usually the ectoderm is made of spongin, and that's the part that you would have left over if you were using a sponge for washing dishes or bathing or whatever. You would have that left, and that would be the part that's kind of left over there. And then in the middle, we have the amoebocytes. And I'm going to make the amoebocytes red so you can really stand out here. The amoebocytes are found in between the epidermis or ectoderm and the choanocytes or the collar cells. So they're found in this area in the middle between the two body walls in the area called the mesoglia. And so we're not really going to color the mesoglia, but we are going to color these cells here, and all of these are amoebocytes. So within the mesoglia we have amoebocytes and we have spicules, and these amoebocytes are going to be able to move around. They pick up food from the choanocytes, and they're able to move around within the mesoglia and maybe give some nutrients to the cells that make up the epidermis. So what I want to do, this would be the same thing over here as over here. These are the 6 parts of the sponge I would like for you to know. And then I also want to make sure that everybody's really clear on the pathway of movement of water. So we're going to write the word water over here. And then we'll just draw an arrow again, saying that it comes in the ostia, comes into the body cavity, and goes out the osculum at the top. And so it's going to come in all the ostia and come out the osculum. Okay. So there is the anatomy of a sponge that I expect you to know.